This is a crochet tutorial for our third Beginners Crochet Socks project, and we are using the Cupid pattern designed by Anna Nikopidowicz in cooperation with West Yorkshire Spinners. We are using the signature 4-ply range, and there are 4 shades in this video. From left to right, we have Spring Green, Summer Sunset, Autumn Leaves, and Winter Icicle. This is part 1 out of 2 for this particular Cupid socks. The recommended crochet hook size in this pattern is 3 millimeters. Personally, actually for the sizing in the pattern, my crochet hook size is 2 millimeters. Usually I recommend that you make a gauge swatch, but for socks, the best way to determine your gauge is to simply make the socks. So you can start off with a 3 millimeter crochet hook and then find out what the gauge is for that particular crochet hook size and the thickness of yarn. Since the pattern is written in UK crochet terms, we are going to be using UK crochet terms. For part 1 of this project, we're going to start off by making the toe section, which consists of double crochet stitches. And then we're going to move on to the main foot area or main foot section. And then we're going to continue by making a space for the heel, and then continuing up the leg section of the sock. For the rest of the socks, which consists of the cuff and the heel, that would be shown in the second video of this tutorial. The shade I am showing you right now is called Spring Green. The shade that I'm going to be using in this video is called Summer Sunset. So with your crochet hook, we're going to start off with a slip knot and then chain 13. So after chaining 13, from the second chain from the hook, we're going to be working double crochet stitches. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull through that stitch, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook. So you will end up with 12 double crochet stitches on this side of your chain. And then we're going to flip over this section, and then on the other side of the chain, work double crochet stitches in every chain, wherein you will end up with 12 double crochet stitches on this side. So overall, for this row, you will have 24 double crochet. So that's the start of our toe section. In the first stitch, work 3 double crochet. And then in the middle stitch, insert a green stitch marker. So that will be the second double crochet stitch that you just made in this particular row. And then work double crochet stitches across So that will be 11 double crochet stitches. So that's 1 double crochet stitch in the 11 stitches from the previous row. So after you made your 11 double crochet stitches, you're going to be working 3 double crochet in the next stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. And then in the middle stitch, or the second double crochet stitch you just made, insert a red stitch marker. So these stitch markers will act as like a traffic signal. So green means go, red means stop. So to just show you that this particular stitch marker is either the start or the end. So again, work 11 double crochet stitches. That's our second row. Next, we're going to be working 1 double crochet stitch in every stitch around. So we have a stitch marker here. We're going to be moving this up to the next row. So I'm going to be working a double crochet stitch in this marked stitch and in the next, because it's easier for me to work without that stitch marker hanging on the stitch I'm working on. So I'm simply moving up the stitch marker 1 row up. So this is the stitch that I made right above the original place of that stitch marker. And then continue working double crochet stitches around. So we're gonna encounter the red stitch marker, which tells us, right, so this is the second stitch marker. So I'm very close to the end of this row. So I'm going to move this stitch marker up. I'll be working 1 stitch here and in the next. And then put back the red stitch marker, but not in the same stitch, but on the stitch right above the original position. And then continue working double crochet stitches until you reach the first stitch marker. We are going to be working 3 double crochet stitches in each stitch marker. So here we have the green. Take that out. Work 3 double crochet stitches in this particular stitch. And then put that green stitch marker in the middle, or the second stitch you just made. And then work double crochet stitches until we encounter the red stitch marker. And when you encounter the red stitch marker, you work 3 double crochet stitches on that stitch. So this row, let's label it as an increasing row. So here's the red stitch marker. Work 3 double crochet stitches here, and then put the red stitch marker on the second or the middle stitch, and then work double crochet stitches until you encounter the green stitch marker. So we're going to use this increasing row alternating with a row that has double crochet stitches around without any increase. So making sure you put up the stitch markers in every row. Alright, so here we have this particular sock with a toe section done. And depending on the sock size you're making, small, medium, or large. In UK size, that would be 3 to 4, 5 to 6, or 7 to 8. You will end up with 48 stitches for the small sock 52 stitches for the medium sock, and 56 stitches for the large sock. Now let us make the foot section of our socks. So we don't need the red stitch marker at this point, so you can take that off. In this green stitch marker, we're going to slip stitch and then chain 1. And then work a double crochet stitch into the same space. And then return the green stitch marker. This will be the last time you're going to be moving the green stitch marker, at least for the foot section. In the next stitch, you're going to be working a front post half treble crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook from the front to the back, weave your hook around the post, yarn over, pull through that particular stitch, yarn over, and pull through all loops on your hook. So this is your front post half treble crochet. In the next stitch, double crochet, alternating again with a front post half treble crochet, and then a double crochet in the next stitch. So you're simply alternating between double crochet and a front post half treble crochet. The US equivalent of this front post half treble crochet is called front post half double crochet. So you need to be careful on where you're placing your stitches. The double crochet stitches seem to be placed very close to the front post stitches. It's because the previous stitch is worked around the post. So the front post stitches go into the next space while the double crochet stitches go very, very close to these previous stitches. So continue alternating these stitches of the front post half treble crochet and the double crochet until you get to the end of this row. So it is one stitch in every stitch around, so there's no increase or decrease for every row for the foot section. So this is the final stitch, which is the front post half treble crochet. We're starting the next row, which is we're going to slip stitch into this marked stitch, followed by a chain 1 and a double crochet in the same space, and we do not move the stitch marker. The next stitch is the half treble crochet, or the front post half treble crochet, and we're working this on top of the front post half treble crochet in the previous row. Followed by a double crochet on top of another double crochet in the previous row. So we're going to follow the same pattern, alternating a front post half treble crochet and a double crochet in the next stitch. So just remember that all your front post stitches should go on top of a front post stitch, and your double crochet stitch should go on top of another double crochet stitch. So that's the main pattern for both the foot section and the leg section for your socks. In this next part, we're going to make a separation for the heel. So you simply measure from the toe. If it is a small socks, it should be 16.5 centimeters. If it's a medium socks, it's 17.5 centimeters. And if it's a large socks, it's 18.5 centimeters. So for the separation, we need to slip stitch into the first stitch and then chain 1 and then work a double crochet in the same space. And then after this, you are going to be making a row of chains. That will be depending on the size of your socks. 24 chains for a small socks, 26 chains for a medium socks, and 28 chains for a large socks. Follow this up by missing the exact number of stitches as the number of chains you just made. So if you're making a small socks, you should miss 24 stitches. And then the next stitch is a front post half treble crochet, and this should be atop another front post stitch, and then a double crochet, and then we continue this alternating pattern of front post half treble crochet and double crochet. So this is the final front post half treble crochet. Slip stitch into the first stitch, chain 1, work a double crochet in the same stitch. Follow this up with a double crochet at every chain that we just made. So that'll be 24 double crochet for a small socks, 26 for medium, and 28 double crochet. So after this double crochet stitches, we're going to go back to the main pattern, so which is the alternating front post half treble crochet and double crochet stitches. So in this leg section, we are simply using the same pattern for the foot section. So in this first part of our two-part video tutorial, we are going to end up with the majority of the leg section. Alright, so we have our front post half treble crochet followed by a double crochet, and then after that, in the end of this row, make sure you slip stitch into the first stitch of the row, and then you simply follow the same pattern of alternating these two stitches up our leg section. We'll see you in the next video.